Magandang hapon po sa lahat. I am Rosa Mayti, your discussant for this afternoon. I will be reporting about Presidential Decree number 6A, also known as the Educational Development Decree of 1972. This is authorizing the undertaking of educational development projects, providing for the mechanics of implementation and financing thereof, and for other purposes. Again, Presidential Decree 6A is also known as the Educational Development Decree of 1972, promulgated on September 29, 1972. It had been declared a policy of the government to reorient the educational system toward an accelerated national economic growth and meaningful social development. This was implemented by the late former President Ferdinand Marcos. Okay. Section 1, title. Again, it is the Educational Development Decree of 1972. So, major laws are the Educational Decree of 1972, also known as PD 6A, and the Education Act of 1972. Section 2, Declaration of Policy. It is hereby declared to be the policy of the government to ensure, within the context of a free and democratic system, maximum contribution of the educational system to the attainment of the following national development goals. First, to achieve and maintain an accelerating rate of economic development and social progress. Second, to assure the maximum participation of all the people in the attainment and enjoyment of the benefits of such growth, and to strengthen national consciousness and promote desirable cultural values in the changing world. To this end, Section 3, Statement of Objectives. To this end, the educational system aims to first, provide for a broad general education that will assist each individual in the peculiar ecology of his own society to attain his potential as a human being, enhance the range and quality of individual and group participation in the basic functions of society, and acquire the essential educational foundation for his development into a productive and versatile citizen. Second, train the nation's manpower in the middle-level skill required for national development. Develop the high-level professions that will provide leadership for the nation, advance knowledge through research, and apply new knowledge for improving the quality of human life, and respond effectively to the changing needs and conditions of the nation through a system of educational planning and evaluation. Section 4, Guiding Principles of the 10-year program. In order to lay the foundation and to advance the attainment of these objectives, a 10-year National Education Development Program shall be formulated based on the following. First, improvement of curricular programs and quality of instruction of all levels by way of upgrading physical faculties, adoption of cost-saving instructional technology, and training and retraining of teachers and administrators. So meaning, continuous training siya, continuous learning. Okay, second, upgrading of academic standards through accreditation schemes, admissions testing, and guidance counseling. Democratization of access to educational opportunities through the provision of financial assistance to deserving students, skills training programs for out-of-school youth, and continuing education program for non-literate adults. So, yan yung mga ALS, tama? Next, the restructuring of higher education to become more responsive to national development needs through a planned system of incentives and assistance to both public and private colleges and universities, and synchronization of curricular programs, staffing patterns, and institutional development activities. Next, expansion of existing programs and establishment of new ones designed to train middle-level technical and agricultural manpower, and instituting reform in the educational financing system to facilitate the shift of funding responsibility for elementary and secondary education from the national to local government, thereby increasing government participation in higher education. Next is Section 5. Section 5, Educational Development Projects. The above stated objectives shall be attained through the undertaking of the following educational development projects. Management study of the Department of Education and Culture and institution of administrative improvements therein. Second, establishment and or operation or improvement of secondary schools, which may include provision of extension services, facilities, and equipment to allow the use of expanded and improved curriculum. Next, establishment and or operation, upgrading of improvement of technical institutes, skills training centers. So, I think that's the TESDA, mga TESDA, and other non-formal training programs and projects for the out-of-school youth and the unemployed in collaboration with the programs of the National Manpower and Youth Council. Fourth, curriculum and staff development, including mathematics and science teaching. Fifth, expansion of agricultural secondary and higher education programs and extension activities, which may include radio broadcasting and rural training services. And the provision of facilities, therefore, includes seed capital and revolving funds. 6. Design, utilization, and improvement of instructional technology and development production of books and other instructional materials. So, ito yung mga modules natin ngayon. Lastly, assistance and incentives, including loans and grants, toward the planned development and improvement of programs and facilities in both public and private universities, colleges, and schools. Section 6, Working Arrangements. For the attainment of the objectives of this decree, an Education Special Committee composed of the Secretary of Education and Culture as chairman and the Secretary of Finance and the Commissioner of Budget as members is if hereby created, which shall first approve and evaluate these specific projects endorsed to it by the National Board of Education, to be financed out of the resources provided for in this decree, and administer the educational institutions development fund as hereinafter provided, except that the resources occurring into the fund shall be managed by reputable fund managers or financial institutions. The National Board of Education, as reorganized pursuant to PD number 1 dated September 24, 1972, shall, in addition to its functions, perform the following. First, formulate education objectives and policies consistent with those enunciated in Section 2 thereof and provide policy guidelines in the administration of the assistance and incentive programs provided for in Section 5 hereof, which shall include a system of educational priorities consistent with national, regional, and local requirements for education and skills training, and such other procedures and requirements as will ensure the continual upgrading of the quality of education, the rationalization and institutional growth, and the democratization of access to education. In this discharge of its functions, the National Board of Education shall be assisted by an Office of Planning and Research known as Planning Service in the Department of Education and Culture. Okay. A project unit to be known as the Educational Development Projects Implementing Task Force is hereby established under the Office of the Secretary of Education and Culture to be headed by a director and be composed of technical staff, members, and such consultants as are necessary. Its functions are to supervise and implement foreign assisted development projects and to implement such other development projects as may be assigned to it by the Secretary of Education and Culture. Where the project involves an office, agency, or instrumentality of the government other than the Department of Education and Culture, appropriate working arrangements shall be established by the Educational Department Projects Implementing Task Force and the office, agency, or instrumentality concerned, including turnover of the project upon its completion to such office, agency, or instrumentality to be integrated with and be part of the regular activities thereof. Section 7, Authority to Borrow. So, this means ito yung mga loan from the other mga foreign countries. Ayan, mga utang yan. Okay. So, the President of the Philippines, in behalf of the Republic of the Philippines, may contract loans. So, pwede naman tayong mangutang. Credits or indebtedness with a foreign source or lender, other such terms and conditions as may be agreed upon, and the provision of law, including Republic Act numbered 4860 as amended by Republic Act numbered 6142, Act numbered 4239, Commonwealth Act numbered 138, Commonwealth Act numbered 541, RA number 912, RA number 5183, and other related laws to the contrary notwithstanding, for a total amount not exceeding 100 million US dollars, or the equivalent thereof in other currencies, as may be necessary to meet the direct and indirect foreign exchange requirements for the projects authorized under this decree, to cover the cost of feasibility studies, equipment, machinery, supplies, construction, installation, and related services of any such projects, provided that the loan's credit or indebtedness authorized herein shall be incurred on terms of payment not less than 10 years. So, pwede tayong umutang. Okay? Pero sinasabi dito na gagamitin to sa feasibility studies, equipment, machinery, supplies, construction, in connection with the improvement of education. Hindi ka maglo-loan para lang sa kung anong bagay. So ito, connected to sa education. And itong loans na to, or credit, will be dapat mabayaran siya not less than 10 years. Ayun. Ayan. So, dapat mabayaran siya not less than, yan. Para siya sa educational development. Okay. Section 8, utilization of proceeds. Okay. So, dito naman, the proceeds of such loans, yung sinabi ko kanina, credits or yung mga utang nga, as well as the appropriations under Section 9, shall be used exclusively for financing the educational development projects authorized under this decree, provided that for the purpose of ensuring continued assistance to the planned development and improvement of programs and facilities in both public and private universities, colleges, and schools. There is hereby authorized to be established an Educational Institutions Development Fund in an amount of not less than 10 million pesos. Again, 10 million pesos Philippine currency annually for a period of 10 years. The said fund shall be administered as a separate fund, and lending or relending operations to private universities, colleges, and schools shall be subject to the rules and regulation to be promulgated by the National Board of Education with the approval of the Secretary of Finance. Dito, the cities, provinces, and municipalities may undertake educational development projects pursuant to the objectives of this decree and are hereby authorized to avail themselves of proceeds of loans, credits, herein authorized as well as the appropriations under Section 9 thereof, and receive financial assistance subject to such conditions as may be provided for or promulgated by the National Board of Education pursuant to this decree. Okay. Next is the Section 9, the appropriations. In addition to the proceeds of the loans, credits, or indebtedness mentioned in Section 7 hereof, there is hereby appropriated for the projects authorized herein the sum of 500 million pesos out of the funds in the National Treasury, not otherwise appropriated, which shall be programmed and released in the following manner: 50 million pesos for fiscal year 1972 to 73, and 50 million pesos annually thereafter until June 30, 1982, provided that, notwithstanding the said schedule, releases in a given year shall be adjusted in accordance with the actual requirements of the projects being implemented during the fiscal year, provided further that should be any surplus in the annual appropriations herein provided, the same shall accrue to the educational special account herein created in the general fund, which shall be made available to finance the projects during subsequent fiscal years. Next, Section 10, creation of educational special account. There is hereby established in the National Treasury an educational special account to meet the appropriations herein provided, which shall be constituted from the following sources. First, proceeds from bond issues as provided for under Section 11 of this decree. Second, 20 million pesos annually from the share of the national government in this special education fund under Republic Act number 5447 as provided in section 2 thereof. And 15 million pesos from the Special Science Fund for fiscal year 1972 to 73 and 50% annual thereafter until June 30, 1982 of the total annual receipt from the taxes provided for under Republic Act number 5448 as provided in section 13 thereof. Next, future savings of the Department of Education and Culture that may result from the implementation of reforms consequent to management study as provided in section 14 hereof, and augmentations from the general funds which are hereby authorized in cases where the above sources are not sufficient to cover expenditures required in any year, as provided in Section 15 of this Act. The Department of Education and Culture is hereby authorized to receive and spend or utilize donations and or bequests made in pursuance of the purposes and for projects enunciated in this decree, which donations and or bequests shall be exempt from the payment of gift taxes. Next is Section 11, Bond Issues. The Secretary of Finance may issue and sell bonds not exceeding 20 million pesos annually under the authority of Republic Act number 4861, any provision of law to the contrary notwithstanding. Section 12, portions of the Special Education Fund, and the provision of law to the contrary notwithstanding effective July 1, 1972 until June 30, 1982, 20 million pesos of the annual share of the national government from the Special Education Fund provided for under Republic Act number 5447 shall accrue to the educational special account herein provided. Thereafter, the said share shall accrue to the general fund. In this connection, the shares of the local governments from the said fund may be used by them to finance such projects as may be established in their locality under the authority of this decree, regardless of any restriction imposed thereon. 13. Portion of Special Science Fund. Any provision of law to the contrary notwithstanding, effective upon approval of this decree, 15 million pesos of the Special Science Fund established under Republic Act number 5448 as amended, as hereby transferred to the Educational Special Account herein provided, starting July 1, 1972 until June 13, 1982, 50% of the collections, total collections from the taxes imposed under Republic Act number 5448 as amended shall accrue to the Educational Special Account. Thereafter, said portion shall accrue to the General Fund. Section 14. The future savings. Such amount of savings resulting from the implementation of reforms consequent to the management of study authorized under Section 5 as may be necessary to prosecute the projects under this decree shall accrue to the Educational Special Account. Section 15. In cases where funds from sources specified in Section 10, A, B, C, D, are not sufficient to meet the requirements in any fiscal year, such amounts as are necessary to meet such requirements are hereby appropriated out of the funds in the general funds not otherwise appropriated and transferred to the educational special account. Section 16, tax exemption. The loans, credits, or indebtedness incurred pursuant to this decree, the payment of the principal, interest, and other charges thereon, the earnings of the fund created under Section 8, as well as the importation of articles, materials, equipments, machineries, and supplies, including all building materials by the Department of Education and Culture or other offices, agencies, or instrumentalities of the government, and by private or chartered entities authorized by Education Special Committee to undertake the projects authorized in this act shall be exempt from all taxes, duties, fees, imposed, other charges and restrictions, including import restrictions, imposed the Republic of the Philippines or any of its agencies or political subdivisions. The Secretary of Finance shall promulgate rules and regulations necessary for the purpose. Section 17, Additional Appropriations. This is hereby authorized to be appropriated out of any funds in the National Treasury not otherwise appropriated, such sums as may be necessary to pay the principal, interest, and other charges on the loans, credits, or indebtedness incurred under the authority of this decree and when they become due. Section 18, Repealing Laws. All laws, executive orders, rules or regulations or parts thereof which are inconsistent with this decree are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. Section 19, Effectivity. This decree shall take effect immediately, done in the city of Manila, this 29th day of September, in the year of our Lord, 1972. So, this is the reference. Thank you for listening.